Part 1. A Ghost in Your Own Life. There are days that feel the same, days that blur into one another, a watercolor painting left out in the rain, where all the distinct moments bleed into a single muted shade of gray. But then there is something more profound, more unsettling. There are entire lives that feel like one long colorless day, and you find yourself in the middle of it, the lead actor in a film you have no memory of auditioning for, a story you have no interest in watching unfold. You sit in the theater of your own existence, waiting for the credits to roll, hoping the next feature will be more compelling. But the film just keeps playing. This is the quiet hum of a life on autopilot. You know the rhythm by heart. The same alarm, the same path to work, a route so familiar you could navigate it with your eyes closed. Perhaps you already do. You see the same faces, exchange the same pleasantries, and think the same looping thoughts. It's as if a veil has been draped over your eyes, a permanent gray filter that steals the vibrancy from the world. The deep crimson of a sunset becomes a dull rust. The brilliant green of new spring leaves becomes a faded olive. You function. In fact, you might function flawlessly. You meet deadlines, you pay your bills, you remember birthdays. On paper, you are the model of a successful life. But you don't feel it. You are a ghost in the halls of your own home, a polite guest in the vessel of your own body. You move through rooms, but leave no impression. You speak, but your own voice sounds distant. You are present, but entirely absent. Let me ask you something, and I need you to be truly honest with yourself. When was the last time you did something not because you had to, not because it was convenient, or because it was expected of you, but because you wanted to? When did you last act from a place of pure, unadulterated desire, a force that rose from the very core of your being, so powerful it made your knees tremble? When did you last feel that raw, electric current of life itself, the blood roaring in your veins from the sheer, breathtaking miracle of being alive? Stop. For just a second, right where you are, I want you to try a small experiment. Think back to this morning. Think of the coffee you drank or the tea you sipped. Now, try to truly remember it. Can you recall the specific taste, the rich bitterness, the subtle notes of citrus or chocolate? Can you feel the warmth of the mug in your hands? Did you truly experience it, or was it just a ritual, a warm liquid you consumed while your mind was already racing ahead, planning, worrying, existing somewhere in the future? Was it a moment of presence, or just another checkbox on the long list of things to do before you could officially start your day? If you can't remember, if the memory is hazy, a vague impression without detail, that is the first sign. That is the first quiet whisper of a much deeper problem. It's the moment when your actions become disconnected from your spirit, when the things you do lose their essence, and all that remains is a mechanical, hollow shell. Please hear me when I say this. This is not your fault. This is not a sign of weakness or a personal failure. It is a distress signal, a quiet, persistent alarm bell ringing from the deepest part of you, from your very soul, warning you that the connection is becoming frayed. You might be telling yourself this is just fatigue. You're overworked. You're stressed. It was a bad week, a difficult month. You just need a vacation, a good night's sleep, and everything will go back to normal. We are masters at explaining away the whispers of our own soul, dismissing its cries as mere static. But what if I told you that what you're experiencing is not just a bad week? What if it's not a phase you will simply snap out of? What if it is a profound spiritual condition, a sickness of the soul, and it has a name? Part 2. The sickness doctors don't talk about. This is not burnout. This is not some passing seasonal melancholy or a simple case of the blues. What you are feeling is a symptom, a fever dream of the spirit. It is the signature of a profound spiritual ailment, a sickness that doctors cannot diagnose and for which no prescription can be written. It's a condition the brilliant physician of the soul, Carl Jung, identified a century ago. He called it the loss of soul. And what this means, what you must understand, is that this is not a personal failing. You are not lazy. You are not weak. You are not ungrateful for the life you have built. The exhaustion you feel is the sound of your true self, your innermost being, suffocating. It is gasping for air under the crushing weight of 1,000 silent obligations, a mountain of other people's expectations you have mistaken for your own. You are not just bored. You are in the process of a slow and quiet vanishing. The most terrifying part is that it happens so gradually, so politely, that you don't even notice the theft. It's a magic trick you perform on yourself. Day by day, choice by choice, you make the sensible decision. You take the responsible path. You silence the quiet, inconvenient whisper inside that asks for something more. You give away a small piece of yourself to please a boss, another to maintain your friendly relationships, another to fit the mold of who you are supposed to be. And you keep giving these pieces away one after another until all that remains is a beautifully crafted, perfectly functioning, hollowed-out shell. A person who looks like you, talks like you, and carries your name, but whose inner light has been extinguished. Imagine for a moment that your life is a magnificent ship. The wood is strong, the sails are pristine, and from the shore it looks impressive, successful, a vessel charting a confident course. You are standing at the helm, your hands on the wheel, but you are not in command. Someone else, a presence you can't quite see, is whispering the coordinates into your ear, and you obey. You turn the wheel, you adjust the sails, you follow every command without question. But where is this silent navigator taking you? Look ahead. All you can see is a dense, gray, and endless fog. There is no sun, no stars, no destination in sight. Only the cold, damp air that clings to your skin and seeps into your bones. Can you feel that chill? That is the feeling of a life course plotted by a force that is not your own. A journey with no purpose, headed for no harbor. The most dangerous enemy is the one you do not know exists. This invisible navigator, this phantom captain of your soul, steers you into this lifeless fog, and you don't even realize you've been hijacked. You believe you're choosing this path. You believe this numb, gray existence is simply what it means to be an adult, to be responsible. You've accepted the fog as the only reality. But Carl Jung saw it. He didn't just feel the chill, he saw the ghost in the machine. He stepped onto the bridge of the human psyche, and with a courage that bordered on madness, he stared this invisible enemy in the face, tore off its mask, and gave it a name. He revealed its strategy, its motives, and its deepest, darkest secret. And now I am going to show you its face. I am going to hold up a mirror, and you're going to see this silent thief who has been stealing your life piece by piece. Brace yourself. This will be difficult, because when you look into that mirror, you may not see a monster or a demon. You may just recognize the perfect version of yourself. Part 3. Your best enemy. Meeting the persona and the shadow. So who is this phantom captain steering your life into the fog? Who is this silent thief, stealing your existence piece by piece? Jung's answer is devastating because it is so simple. The greatest enemy you will ever face is not your boss, not your government, not your circumstances. The architect of your own invisible prison is an intimate accomplice. It is a part of you. He called it the persona. The persona is the mask you present to the world. It's the masterpiece you have sculpted for public approval. It's the good son, the responsible employee, the perfect mother, the charming friend. It's the version of you that gets the likes, the promotions, and the applause. It is a necessary tool. We all need a face to meet the faces that we meet. It's the armor that protects our tender, true self from the harshness of the world. But the danger, the mortal danger, comes when you forget you are wearing a mask at all. When the armor fuses to your skin, it begins to constrict, to suffocate the complex, messy, and authentic being that lives underneath. It demands you be consistent, predictable, and palatable. And in its service, you begin to systematically suppress every part of yourself that doesn't fit the perfect image. But where do all those suppressed pieces go? They do not simply vanish. They are cast down into the dungeon of your psyche, into a place Jung called the shadow. The shadow is everything the persona is not. It's where you have exiled every inconvenient emotion, every unacceptable desire, every raw and wild impulse. It's your anger that you are told was unchristian, your ambition that you were taught was selfish, your deep longing for solitude that you were told was antisocial, your righteous fury at injustice that polite society found too loud. The persona is the pristine, smiling jailer standing in the sunlight. The shadow is the powerful, misunderstood prisoner chained in the darkness, growing stronger with everything you refuse to acknowledge. And your life, that gray, hollowed-out existence you've been living, is the cold, silent war zone between them. I want you to think back to the last time you said yes when every cell in your body was screaming no. A favor for a friend that you simply didn't have the energy for. An opinion you nodded along with, even though it violated your deepest convictions. A task at work you took on knowing it would push you to the breaking point. Why did you do it? To be seen as helpful? To avoid a difficult conversation? To preserve the fragile peace? To protect your image as the one who can handle anything? Whose mask were you so desperately polishing in that moment? That was your persona. In that moment, it won. It bought you a fleeting second of social comfort, a nod of approval, the avoidance of conflict. And the price? The price was a piece of your soul. It was a betrayal of your own truth. With that single, polite, dishonest yes, you handed another chain to the jailer, and your shadow, your authentic truth, your honest protest, your inner voice that knows your limits, was bound that much tighter in the dark. With every such choice, the chains get heavier and the prisoner's resentment grows hotter. But here is a law of the soul as unbreakable as any law of physics. Energy is never destroyed. It is only transformed. And the immense energy you have been using to suppress your own truth for months, for years, for decades, it has not disappeared. It has been accumulating, building pressure. A prisoner who is denied justice and light will not stay in the dungeon forever. So what happens when those chains can no longer hold this wild, concentrated, explosive force? Part 4. When the mask cracks. The dark night of the soul. The mask you have so carefully crafted, the one that earned you your place in the world, does not remain a simple tool. It is not made of wood or clay. It is made of your choices, Every polite lie, every suppressed truth, every moment you chose comfort over courage, you were not just wearing the mask, you were feeding it. You were giving it your own lifeblood, and over time, a terrifying alchemy takes place. The mask stops being something you wear. It fuses with your flesh. It hardens into a second skin, a polished cage of bone, and then the pressure inside, the pressure of a whole, forgotten life, becomes unbearable. The dam doesn't just spring a leak, it shatters. The world has many names for this moment of shattering: a midlife crisis, a nervous breakdown, a sudden, inexplicable depression, panic attacks that come out of nowhere, ambushing you in the grocery store aisle, the affair that detonates a 20-year marriage, the career you walk away from at its very peak. Society looks at this explosion and calls it a failure. It whispers behind your back, labels you as unstable, broken, a cautionary tale. But the great physician of the soul, Carl Jung, would look you directly in the eyes, right in the heart of your wreckage, and tell you something that could save your life. This is not a breakdown. This is a breakthrough. This is not a tragedy. It is the sound of a rescue mission. It is the desperate, primal scream of your own soul, which you have left for dead in the dungeon of your psyche. It is your shadow, no longer content to rattle its chains, deciding instead to tear the prison doors from their hinges. It is the moment the polite, hollow existence your persona has built for you becomes so suffocating, so spiritually poisonous, that the deepest part of you chooses to risk total annihilation rather than spend one more day as a ghost. This is the bottom. This is the absolute, terrifying rock-bottom floor of your life. And it is from here, Jung insists, and only from here, that the real ascent can ever begin. Think about it. That inexplicable rage that erupted from you last week over something trivial, that sudden, overwhelming urge to get in your car and just drive, with no destination, leaving everything and everyone behind. You were ashamed of it. You saw it as a sign of your own weakness, a crack in your character. But what if that wasn't weakness? What if it was the single healthiest, most honest response you've had in a decade? What if it was the violent, beautiful protest of a healthy organism rejecting a profoundly unhealthy way of life? What if it was your soul finally screaming, "I will not die quietly for your comfort"? Jung taught that neurosis is always a substitute for legitimate suffering. The dull, gray ache of your autopilot life, that is not legitimate suffering. That is the slow poison of inauthenticity. The crisis, the breakdown, the dark night of your soul, that is the legitimate suffering. It's the purifying fire. It's the pain that cauterizes the wound. This crisis is not your enemy. It is a severe mercy. It is a desperate intervention from the truest part of yourself, an attempt to wrestle the wheel of your life from the phantom captain and turn the ship away from the endless fog. It is an invitation to stop running, to stop pretending, and to finally descend into the darkness of your own heart. To go to the one place you have always feared, not to find your death, but to find the treasure you buried there yourself. And it is right there at the bottom, in that silent, suffocating darkness where all your illusions about yourself have been stripped away, that Jung left us a map, not just a word of comfort, a key to unlocking the prison from the inside. Part 5. The map out of prison, the path of individuation. And so, you are there, at the bottom. The polished floor of your life has given way, and you have fallen through into the cold, silent darkness of the truth. All the masks are gone. All the applause has faded. It is just you in the wreckage. And it is here, in this sacred, terrifying space, that Jung hands you the key. He offers you the map out of the prison you didn't even know you were in. It is not a quick fix. It is not a 7-step plan to a happier life. It is the holy grail of the inner world. It is a process he called individuation. This is not a word from a dusty textbook. Do not let its clinical sound fool you. Individuation is the most ancient and heroic story ever told. It is the hero's journey. Not a hero with a sword and shield, but a hero with the courage to turn inward. It is the conscious, deliberate decision to stop polishing the mask and instead descend into your own basement, carrying nothing but a single, flickering candle. It is the journey to finally meet the prisoner you have kept chained in the dark for all these years, your shadow. But your mission is not to fight it. It is not to slay the dragon. It is to do something far more difficult, far more courageous. It is to listen, to look this terrifying, neglected part of yourself in the eyes and with humility ask, what do you truly want? What vital piece of me do you carry? What truth have I forced you to speak for me in the language of rage and chaos? To integrate the shadow is not to unleash your worst impulses upon the world. It is to reclaim the raw power that fuels them. It is to find the noble courage hidden within your anger, the sacred longing for purpose buried beneath your envy, the profound need for rest that cries out in your apathy. This is the great work. It begins when you start to honor the language of your soul. You start a dream journal, not to interpret, but simply to listen to the strange, symbolic stories your deepest self is telling you every night. You take a class or pick up a hobby, not because it is productive or useful, but because it both terrifies and fascinates you, because it makes you feel alive. And most importantly, you make one small choice. You take one single step, not in the direction of what you should do, but in the direction of what you truly, deeply want to do. I want you to do something for me right now. Name one thing, just one. Something you secretly long to do, but you are terrified of what people would think, that you would be judged, misunderstood, or rejected for it. Is it to sing? To sing at the top of your lungs, not because you are good at it, but for the sheer joy of the sound? Is it to finally write that poem, that story, that song that has been burning a hole in your heart? Is it to walk away from the career that is celebrated by everyone you know, but is quietly crushing your spirit? Is it to speak a difficult, painful truth to someone you love, not out of malice, but out of a desperate need for honesty? What is it? Feel it. Let the thought rise up. That impulse, that whisper you just heard in the silence of your own mind, that is the voice of your shadow. And please, hear this. It is not a bad desire. It is not a selfish temptation. It is a piece of your own divine strength, a fragment of your authentic self that your persona, your inner jailer, labeled as dangerous, unacceptable, or inconvenient a long, long time ago. It locked that power away to keep you safe, to keep you accepted, to keep the peace. But the peace it kept was the peace of the tomb. Individuation begins not with a cataclysmic explosion, but with a single, quiet act of loyalty to that voice. It begins the moment you decide to take one small, trembling step towards it. This path will not make you better in the eyes of society. It may, in fact, make you stranger, more difficult to categorize, less predictable. It will not make you perfect. The goal is not perfection. That is the tyranny of the persona. The goal of this journey is far more sacred. It will make you whole. And this wholeness, this courageous, messy, breathtaking union of the light and the dark within you, the acceptance of your strength and your weakness, your saint and your sinner. This is the hidden treasure. Part 6, your personal revolution, begins now. This journey to reclaim your life, this holy war for your own soul, does not begin with a grand gesture. You do not need to quit your job tomorrow. You do not need to pack a bag and move to a city where no one knows your name. These are the frantic negotiations of the persona, desperate to convince you that change is a transaction, something you can buy with a plane ticket. It wants you to believe that the prison is the building you work in or the street you live on. But the bars were never made of steel and concrete. They were forged in the quiet furnace of your own compromises. Therefore, the revolution cannot be an external act. It is not about changing your scenery. It is about changing your sight. It is a declaration of war that is whispered in the absolute silence of your own heart. A war that begins this very second. To truly live is to make a conscious choice every single day to be loyal to the unseen truth within you over the comfortable fiction everyone else sees. It is the moment you stop treating your life as a performance to be reviewed and start treating it as a sacred text to be experienced. Life, the kind your soul is crying out for, is not found on a comfortable couch, wrapped in the warm blanket of public approval. That is a waiting room. That is an anesthetic. Real life happens when you willingly walk into the storm of your own heart. It happens when you meet your shadow, not as an enemy to be vanquished, but as a long-lost ally. You look into its eyes, and you see not a monster, but the reflection of all the power you were told was too dangerous to wield. You feel its rage, and you recognize it as the pure, uncorrupted energy of a boundary that has been violated. You feel its passion, and you understand it is the raw fuel of your divine purpose. You do not let this force consume you, you integrate it. You harness this wild, holy fire, and you allow it to burn away everything that is not you, leaving only the indestructible ore of your calling. This is what it means to live. It means feeling everything, to stand in the torrential downpour of your own grief without an umbrella, to let the wildfire of your own joy burn so brightly it illuminates the path for others, to feel the sting of betrayal, the ache of longing, and the ecstasy of connection at full volume without the numbing static of distraction, to be fully, terrifyingly, breathtakingly alive. I want you to stop for a moment, right now. Unclench your jaw and look down at your own two hands. Just look at them. See the lines, the map of a life etched into your palms. Are these the hands of a spectator? The soft, passive hands of someone who has simply accepted the script they were given, who applauds politely while their own life is lived out by a stand-in? Hands that reach for the remote control, that scroll endlessly, that sign the papers, that do what they are told? Or are they the hands of a revolutionary? Are they the hands that can tear down a false idol? The hands that can grip a pen and write a new ending? The hands that can build a sanctuary for their own soul? Are they the hands of someone ready to take the wheel of their own ship and steer it out of the fog towards a star only they can see? The difference between those two realities, between the spectator and the revolutionary, is not a lifetime of work. It is not a matter of luck or privilege. It is the space of a single heartbeat. It is one decision, a decision you do not make with your logical mind, which will always argue for the safety of the prison cell. You make it with your gut, with your bones, with the deepest, wisest part of you that has been waiting patiently for you to finally listen. It is the decision to say enough. Enough with the polite performance. Enough with the slow, quiet death of 1,000 compromises. Enough with being a ghost in the halls of your own existence. This is the moment you stop existing and you start the magnificent, messy, and sacred work of becoming who you were born to be. Your sentence in that prison of your own making ends the very second you make this decision. Not when the time is right. Not when you are finally ready. Not on Monday. Now, in this breath. I want you to make that choice real. I want you to take the first step of your revolution right here with us. In the comments below, I want you to write one thing, one single thing that your persona, your mask, has forbidden you to do. One truth it has forbidden you to speak. One passion it has labeled as foolish. And I want you to commit to doing that one thing this week. Let the act of typing it be your signature on a new declaration of independence. Let this be the place where we all see that we are not alone in our desire for a life of truth. Let's start this revolution together.